Okay, wonderful. So, thank you for joining How to Get Sponsorships for Your Giving Circle. Please drop in the chat where you're joining from, what giving circle. It's always great to see that. And also one thing to think about that we'd love for you to kick things off with in the chat is just have a think about any dream sponsors for your giving circles, any sort of blue sky, what your kind of dream situation would look like. Please drop that into the chat. We'd love to have that as well. And how today will work is Hannah is going to lead us through a bit of a workshop that will be about 40 minutes. And then we also have Zenaida Cranford, who is the president of Fayetteville Women for Good. And she's actually gotten sponsorships for her giving circle. So we thought it would be a great opportunity for her to come and share some of her sort of tips and tricks with everybody as well. And then we're going to open it up for an audience Q&A at the end. So that will be about 15 minutes, and the whole event today is going to be an hour. So I'm going to start things by introducing Hannah, who's going to kick things off. So Hannah is someone we've collaborated with before. We recently did a blog post on how to get sponsorship for your giving circles. So we're excited to sort of dig into that blog post a bit further and pull things out a bit more. She is the founder of TheShareWay, a directory of donors offering food, beverages, and raffle items. She's also an author, and over 20,000 individuals and organizations have used TheShareWay all across the USA. So we'll be digging into that a little bit more. It's an excellent resource. So Hannah, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, everyone. So nice to be here. Very excited to share tips and my learnings about getting sponsors today with all of you.
Amazing. So Hannah, the first thing, we were kind of working on this workshop together. And the first question is, for anyone who's maybe feeling a little intimidated by getting sponsorships or is wondering if it's even worth the work, what are the benefits of finding sponsorships for your giving circle in the first place?
Yeah, and maybe before I dive in, let me just tell you guys a little bit more about myself so you understand why I'm here today, why I'm speaking on this topic. So as Gabby said, TheShareWay is a directory of companies that donate food and auction items to nonprofits and schools. And I started this organization because when I was in high school, I was organizing events for my club. And I remember going door to door to local businesses like Chipotle, Mimi's Cafe, asking them to donate burritos or gift cards that we can use to offset food costs at our event, or to raffle off as a prize for the student who came to the conference. Fast forward many years later, I was in San Francisco, surrounded by a lot of tech entrepreneurs, and I was participating in a hackathon where my team needed an idea. And I remember this experience being very frustrating because you're just going door to door, asking people to donate. Sometimes the general manager's not there. You have to come back 3 hours later. Just a lot of back and forth and a lot of time spent. And I remember it being a painful experience. And I was like, okay, I wish there's a website where I could put in my city, my event date, and the items that I'm looking for. And the website will tell me, these are the companies that donate these things in your city. You should contact them. Did this at the hackathon, ended up doing really well, was one of the top teams, and just kept on working on it ever since, because we got so much feedback from nonprofits and schools just about how useful this tool is. So I'm here to share my learnings about securing sponsorships in the process of building this product company, and to answer any questions that you have. Any questions for me before I dive in? Awesome, cool. So what are the benefits of getting sponsors for your events? I think number one, it's a way for you to reduce event costs. The most important one is probably food and beverage. So instead of going to Costco to buy stuff for your attendees, now you could get local businesses to sponsor them, and in exchange, giving them some marketing or social media shout outs. So this is definitely a great way to reduce costs and be within your budget. Second, this is not often thought of, but there's actually an opportunity to use sponsored products to add to your event experience. So I know a lot of food and beverage, so now there are wines and a can or like new bubblies, and these brands really want to get out there and put their products in front of people. And if you're their right audience, having some of these products is actually a very interesting experience for your event attendee, and it could actually make your event more fun when you have these just fun things that people find and discover when they come. So it's an opportunity to add to your event experience. Number three, it's also a way for you to build relationships with local businesses. So by giving them an opportunity to sponsor your event, you offer them something, they offer you something. It's a great way to build relationships and to maintain those relationships over the course of the years. And lastly, by connecting with local businesses, it's also a way for you to spread word about giving circles, because many of them may not have heard of giving circles before, but by sponsoring your event, they're now exposed to the concept of what a giving circle is. And I just want to share a really cool stat to get you excited about doing this and getting sponsors. Is a lot of people actually donate more than you think. 75% of small businesses and 94% of restaurants donate to charity. So you might be surprised by what you find when you start reaching out.
And so someone has decided, okay, sponsorship is something that's important to our giving circle. So what are the sort of tangible next steps that people can approach if they decided, okay, this is important to us?
Absolutely. So I'm going to share some slides here so that it will be easier to follow along.
And we'll share this afterwards as well for everyone.
Okay, can all of you see my screen? Hold on, I also want to just, okay. So in terms of next steps, once you've decided getting sponsors is something you're interested in, is number one, figure out your event details, because that is one of the first things that businesses and companies are going to ask, like, what am I sponsoring? What do I get in return? So getting a sense of when is your event date. If you don't have an exact date, having a range or like this month or end of this month is super helpful. What your event is about. This is important because then you could paint the picture for the sponsor on like, okay, is this a conference or is this like a discussion where it's more lounge-like, because products some products do really well at conferences, some products do well in other types of settings. So having a sense of what the setting is like help companies determine whether or not that would be a good event for them to sponsor. How many attendees? This is important because a lot of times companies are interested in sponsoring for the marketing value of it. So some of them have a minimum bar of like, they only sponsor events that have like 50 people or more. So having a sense of the number of attendees is super important. And then lastly, what type of sponsors are you looking for? Are you looking for just beverages? Are you looking for food and beverages? Food, what kind of food? Is it just desserts? Or are you also looking for meals? And do you want to try to get like goodie bags for people or have prizes that people can win at the end? So knowing exactly what you want would help you figure out who to go after. After you figure out your event details, the next step is to identify who will be good sponsors based on what you need. And the first step towards that is also kind of understand what are your value propositions for businesses. Are you offering them marketing and brand exposure, in which case maybe the number of attendees matter a lot more? Do you have like an audience alignment, right? Like, so maybe Lush, right, which is a sponsor on TheShareWay, they give away nice soaps and bath and body products. So if your audience is mostly female, that would be a great alignment for the brand. So understanding what is the marketing and brand exposure you can provide for the brands or the companies is very important. Second, not all businesses donate for marketing and brand exposure. Some of them donate because they want to be a part of the community. It is part of their like CSR values. So some companies will actually list that, hey, we really want to support animal causes, or we really want to support causes related to women equality. So, and sometimes they'll list them on their website. So if you find those alignment and they're like perfectly aligned to the work that you're doing, then like emphasizing the good work that you're doing is great too, because that aligns with the philanthropy that the company is interested in doing. And lastly, Some companies do matching for their employees, or they only allow employees to apply for in-kind donations. So and companies do that for employee engagement. So sometimes it's worth asking people on your team, like, hey, do the companies you work at have a program where employees can ask for donations? So for example, Whirlpool, only employees can apply for in-kind donations from Whirlpool. So yeah, so understanding your value propositions. Next from there, create a list of potential targets. So what is that big list of people you're going to be reaching out to? Number one, use your network. So where are like the local businesses you go shopping at every week? You know, that's a good place to start. Use existing list. So usually if you have members in your giving circles that work at a nonprofit or is a parent in a PTA organizations, sometimes they have existing lists that have donated to their organizations in the past, because nonprofits and schools, they have fundraisers. So this is like a more recurring thing that people who in those realms have done before. So if you have a friend or someone in this giving circle who work in those spaces, you might be able to ask them like, oh, can I reference your list? And then there are platforms that help you source and discover who donate. And an example of that is TheShareWay. And I can show you how it works in a little bit. And lastly, it's important to prioritize your targets. You may not have time to reach out to everybody. So you want to prioritize based on degree of relationship, right? Do you have someone who can make an intro, or are you already connected to this person? Usually the warmer the relationship, the higher the likelihood of getting a donation. Number two, geography, right? So if some place is really far away, right? Like 10 minutes versus an hour or 2 hours away, maybe you want to prioritize the ones closer, because businesses, especially local businesses, tend to want to support their own communities. So if you go further out, the chances sometimes is a little bit lower. And next one, some of them will say that, hey, to submit an application, it is due like 6 weeks before your event date. So you want to prioritize the ones that have a longer requirement deadline time. And then sometimes businesses will list their preferences. So if that's on their website, you want to make sure you read them and make sure you fall within their preferences, or you might be wasting your time submitting the application. And some of them have hard requirements, like they require that you have a 501c3 tax ID number as an example, or that they require that your organization works within this county. So, and this will make more clear once I show you an example application of what they list, so that you can see what I mean by this. I want to pause and see if there are any questions so far.
Feel free to just unmute if anyone has any questions.
Okay. Moving forward, so how do you get in touch with sponsors? So number one, you want to Google to see if there's an online application. Sometimes there are, and you just fill that out and wait to hear back. TheShareWay is a way to make this faster, because we aggregate all the different application links so that you don't have to find it yourself. I'll show you that in a sec. If there's no online application, call or email them to ask. If you go to that store all the time, you could just ask the next time you're there. And then if you have someone connected to this company, I would definitely ask for that friend for an introduction. And then now, the next step is to prepare your materials, delegate work to different people who are part of the leadership team, and start applying. So you'll find that a lot of companies typically will ask for the same set of information where you ask them to donate. And I've listed what those are. They will ask you, what is your organization's mission? What is your event about? How is your event formatted? How will you promote our brand? How many people will be attending the event? When is the event? And what would you like us to donate? If it is an alcohol donor, sometimes they will ask, do you have a permit? So it gets a little bit more complex if you're looking for alcohol donors. Next, draft is template for soliciting donations. I would say have an email one and like a letter one. Some of them are still pretty old school. They'll ask you to like hand them a letter. And here I've linked to a template library where you can find some of those templates that we created. And then number 3, delegate the work. So this is very much a numbers game, because companies don't have a limited budget. They have to be selective about who they can donate to. On average, the approval rates for donors on the ShareWay is at about 10%. So as a rough estimate, to get one donation, you want to apply to 10. And they're not hard applications. They probably take like around 5 to 10 minutes, and you're just copy and pasting the same information. So know that you want to reach out to a lot of people. And a good way to do this is to actually delegate the work. So you could assign like 5 per person, and everyone, and just have a copy of all of this information that people can copy and paste from, and just like submit the applications. And then lastly, you want to prioritize companies that have the earliest deadlines. A couple tips for success when you apply and solicit donations. I would definitely, if you have a nonprofit tax ID, use it, because some of them have, a lot of companies have preferences and requirements. Some of them is a hard requirement that you're an official nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit. So this will give your application a boost. Attendee size matters. So if you think about it, so let's just say your local bakery wants to donate muffin. And the reason they donate is it's good for getting their brand out there, right? People get to sample them. People at your event lives within the community. But for them, the logistics of giving you like, let's say 12 muffins for a 12-person event is the same as like 50 muffins for a 50-person event. But 50 reaches a lot more people. So I think just thinking about what is a good number of people for donors is very helpful. And I think I know the giving circles tend to have 15 to 30 people, Gabby, typically.
Many, lots have more, some have less.
Okay.
Yep, it's a bit of a range.
What I found to be helpful is if your attendee size tend to be on the lower end, like 10, 15, a good way to pitch your event is as a series, right? Like in the course of 6 months or 1 year, we're going to be meeting 5 times, and in aggregate, there will be 100 people. And this is especially good for like packaged goods company where the product doesn't go bad. So maybe like a chips brand, and you can ask them like, can you donate for like 100 people, and we'll put it out like 30 at a time for each of our event. So that's a way to also like increase your attendee size if your total number of attendees is on the lower end. And then in terms of follow-up, this is super important. I solicit donation for a Teach for America conference a few years ago, and I tracked my successes, and I found that 45% of the sponsors I secured said yes after the first and the second follow-up. So follow-up is super helpful. And next, try to start asking for donations 2 months before your event. So on the ShareWay, we have details on like, oh, their application deadline is 6 weeks before the event or 8 weeks. And we did an analysis of that, and we found that 50% of the company's donations applications are due 6 weeks or more before the event date. So you just get more options the earlier you start. After the event, send thank yous to maintain good relationships with the sponsors so that you can ask them again next year. And then during and leading up to the event, tag the sponsors on social media, so help them with their business, and thank them for the donations that they have shared. I think this is the end of this question. Any questions about any of these? Great. So I'm thinking of going through a demo of the ShareWay, Gabby, or do you have any other questions for me before I jump over there?
One thing that would be great as well, it ties in a bit with what you were talking about, is just, you already sort of touched upon this a bit, but how can individuals sort of leverage their companies and their networks to find sponsorship? Unless you're going to get to that a bit later, but it might be nice to touch on.
Yeah, we could start with this one. I think in terms of your company, leveraging your company, basically asking them if they have a in-kind donation program. Um, I guess the only thing it's more relevant if you work at like a consumer CPG, consumer packaged goods, or food and beverage, or where the company makes items that would be relevant for your event. I would definitely ask around, because sometimes companies don't actively publicize it. So it never hurts to ask. Um, and then if you have a friend who works at a company that has products that you're interested in, maybe asking that friend to see if the company has a donation program.
Great. Okay, yeah, I think we're good to keep going then.
Okay, so next I will give you all an overview of the ShareWay. So this is the ShareWay. So once you create an account and log in, you'll get here. And what you do as a first step is create an event. So we could call this, give me a giving circle name.
I think we've got here Irvine Professional Women for Good, because I can see Lisa right now.
Okay.
Or Tammy, I mean.
And then let's just say it is on May 17th. That is more than 2 months out. Zip code. What's an Irvine zip code?
I think 92612. Let's try it.
Okay, 92612. And then what will you be looking for? Snacks? Desserts?
Auction, raffle. That's cool.
Okay. Great. And then we have like, we send you emails of like application deadlines coming up. So you could like toggle on and off based on what you're interested in. So now the list is generating. So based on these criteria, we found 350 donors in greater LA. And you can use this to kind of toggle between the different types of items. There's a filter for some donor companies will specify like they really want to donate to women causes. So this will make your search even more refined. But a lot of them don't specify, so I wouldn't limit yourself to only that list, but it's just good to see once you put it on. And then you could filter by how to apply. So some of them have an online application, some of them you have to go in person. A lot of our users are volunteers who have other full-time jobs. They don't have time to go in person, so they'll choose the online or email one, and they'll do it like between work breaks. So that's another option. And then you could see ones that could ship to you versus you have to go there and pick it up. And then we are always adding new donors. We add 10 new ones every week. So you could kind of jump to see what are the new ones we added recently. So this is a company that show up. A lot of these are raffle items, and then you can get to food, wine. Let me show you an example.
Hannah, we've got two great questions in the chat as well as you're sort of talking through it. Christy, wondering if this is a free resource or the sort of cost to use it. And also Faith, how you sort of find these companies that are donating.
Yeah, so we have a very generous free tier. So this search view is completely free to search and play with. This individual company page, if you're on the free plan, you can view 10 of them a month, and then it resets every month. And then we have paid plans that gives you unlimited access. And then what is the second question?
How you find the companies?
Yeah, so we have a way to find which companies donate. It's like we developed our method to just scrape and find who donate. But basically the companies that make it to this list tend to be ones that have publicly listed that they donate, or one of our users have reported that they have received a donation from them. So if you see, we have user reviews on these companies. So we get feedback from our community on who donates, and we add them to the directory when we find that they're good ones. Any other questions? Star system indicated by users based upon their success. So we have two types of rating. This is a user rating, and they don't necessarily all have to have an approved donation. We're coming out with a feature where we'll tell you like this user has an approved donation, but it's generally the user's experience working with this donor. And this approval rate is based on our user reported data of if the donor has responded or if they have approved, and we aggregate that across all of our users to come up with an approval rate. If you're on our premium plan, you can sort by approval rates, which can really help you save time because they tend to be more responsive and donate more often. Is one part of the country more robust than other parts of the country? So we're completely national. There are some cities that we have more local donors of, and those are like the cities we started in before we became national. So those would be like San Francisco, LA, and New York, Texas, and Florida. But we have users all across the country. So even if you're not in those like our denser cities, you'll still have a pretty good experience. Yeah, so then I'll show you an example donor page, approval rates, details on how to apply, what their preferences are. So Oriental Trading does specify that they prefer to donate to education, children, and health causes. And then we link you to their donation application. Some of them are embedded within our website. Some of them we are not able to embed it, in which case we give you the links to go to their application page. And it looks like this one has like a 28-day notice requirement. And then here we also kind of tell you how many days you have left to apply. Any questions?
I can see Monique wrote, wow, the ShareWay is clutch. Resource, so super useful.
I have a question. Do donors have a limit for like how often they can be approached? Is it like once a year, or how does it work?
Some of them do specify once a year. You can apply once a year or once every 6 months. So you will have to read the requirement. We're coming out with a feature soon where we tell you like this donor is once a year, you apply this past year. The feature's not live yet, but it'll be coming. But some of them do specify that.
This is fantastic. I love it. As somebody who used to run silent auctions for our community foundation, I wish that I had this then. My question goes back to the one that Gabby provided an answer to. So we as a Giving Circle are not a 501c3. She's indicated that we can use the 501c3 number for Grapevine, but they won't give a tax receipt. It's been my experience that that doesn't always fly. So how do you think that your sponsors in the database would allow that? And if I applied under that 501c3 and Lisa applied under that 501c3, how would that be managed within their system? Because then it's two from the same quote unquote organization asking for donations.
That is a good point. I will say it's probably like the more established org. So maybe like Taco Bell, where they're using a system where like the minute you submit a second application within 1 year, they'll like flag like, oh, you already submitted a donation, you cannot submit anymore. But most of them tend to be a Google form and email where I don't think they're gonna be that sensitive to like 2 submissions within a year. I think that the corporate bigger ones will flag it, but a lot of them tend to be like smaller, and I haven't heard that as an issue so much.
And will they donate if they don't get a tax receipt back for it? So if we're applying under Grapevine's number and they can't issue a donation receipt, will they?
I will say a number of them will still, from my personal experience, having solicited donations in the past, most people didn't ask. They just asked me for the tax ID number and
okay,
and that's it. Most of them don't ask me for a receipt.
Okay, thank you.
Hannah?
Yes.
Hi, this is Teresa Smith from Volusia County Women Who Care. I have a quick question. While you were talking, I had gone on to try to sign up and just experience it. And so at first, the email comes up after you sign in that they want to verify, send you an email. So I didn't get an email for a bit. So I did the next step, which go back and sign up again, which I did. So then I did get a an email. I clicked on the email and then it says, this is expired. And so the second email I got doesn't have anything. So I'm kind of caught in a loop. I can't sign up. It keeps telling me that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to check in our system for you. So I'm dropping my email in the chat. If you just send me an email with the email you sign up with, I can check right after this call. Or if we
Okay.
have extra time, the two of us can just chat when this session ends.
Yeah, and just so you
Thank
know, I tried to do it too, and I didn't get the confirmation email at all.
I didn't
Okay.
either.
Oh, well, maybe something is down with our system.
Yeah, and I've checked spam and I've checked, promotions and social and.
Okay.
Well, I just signed up and I had the same problem initially, but I was able to get in even though the link said it was expired, but then I just tried to log in and it worked. So give it a try one more time, maybe. Because I got in.
And whoever's still having issues, I dropped my email in the chat. Just email me and I can check our system. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. This
Yeah.
is Teresa again. Hannah, you kind of referred to you see 10 and that's when it's free. So what's the next level of it? Is there there's a paid subscription
Yeah.
at some point?
Yeah. So let me show you all. The next tier is 29 per month billed monthly or 19 per month billed yearly. What this gives you is you get unlimited donor page review. So it's fully unlimited. You get access to 10 new donors every week and you get like a extra filter. If your organization is really on a budget and we price with this in mind is we know that people don't run events every day and year round. So the monthly plan is a really good option if you just need it for like that 1 month right before your event and you're going to be submitting applications like every day for a month. That if you just do that for 1 month, $29 for that 1 month, and then you can cancel and resubscribe again next time you have an event. So one way to save money is to do this monthly subscribe, cancel based on when you need to be super active. And then the premium plan, the really nice thing about this is you get to see the approval rates and you get to sort donors by approval rates and their application deadlines. And then we have new features coming soon as well for this tier. And on average, for some context, our users typically save over 20 hours per event soliciting donations, and they secure about $2,000 in donation value per event. So it basically pays for itself.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and a reminder, we'll send Hannah's email in the follow-up as well for anyone who's having any account issues still. Great, we're going to do a quick kind of Q&A at the end as well. So if there's anything that wasn't answered, we'll make sure to get to it. But I now want to pass it along to Zenaida Cranford, who is the president of the Fayetteville Women for Good group, and she has had success with getting some sponsorships. So we thought it might be a great opportunity for her to share some of her learnings and maybe things she would do different next time and sort of what her approach was. And then also would be great for anyone to think about if anyone on this call has secured sponsorships for their giving circles. We'd love for you to share that as well at the end. There's lots of different ideas that we've heard in various groups, so we'd love you to share. So Zenaida, I'll pass it over to you.
Great, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining today. We have at capacity, so that's good. Everybody registered, everybody joined, and we're all together, good. I am the chair for Fayetteville Women for Good. We are an area-based giving circle, and we are tailored to promote the well-being of nonprofits doing amazing things for our community, but at a tailored description. So we focus on 70% women-led organizations. That right there puts us in a position to where we want to make a bigger impact with whatever sponsorship we get, right? So we want to make sure that sponsorships are based into taken into consideration with our mission. So if we're focusing on women-led organizations doing positive things for our community and growth, we want to make sure that who we contact also to promote our given circle and our granting opportunities is also women businesses, right? So we want to make sure we're completely transparent also. Keeping in mind that we are part of the Grapevine 501c3, but we're not a 501c3 ourselves. So that is also going to limit us the ability of how big or how little sponsors we can get. But that's not to say, okay, I'm not going to reach out to Chick-fil-A because I know Chick-fil-A is going to tell me no. Chick-fil-A is a franchise and they're individually owned, and 90% of them will tell you yes, just by you going in front of them and asking them, because this is how sponsorship works. You're not going to go to a random business and ask them for a sponsorship, a donation, or like a mini grant. Because yes, they're going to tell you no. First of all, they don't know you. They don't know your intentions. And they're not going to just give away their products without you giving something back. So it's like a win-win for anyone who's going to give you a sponsorship. What is it in it for me? And the same thing is what is in it that you're going to offer them, right? But being completely transparent is the key. That's the number one key for sponsorships. For my given circle, personally, we want to go small. We wouldn't want to be too big because we want to make sure that we connect with our members, because we don't have more than 200 members. We have 136 members. So we don't want to go to a big venue like a hotel and do our big event there if we know that, you know, maybe 30, 40 members aren't going to be in attendance, because we're losing resources that way. We can use that big venue for like a mini gala or like a member award ceremony in the future, right? So we're not going to aim too big when we're starting along the way. Like my given circle just launched in August of 2022. So we're fairly still in the infancy stage, but we have done amazing things, but it's how we do it and who we do it with. Number two, we want to make sure that we're using our members to what Grapevine offered us to do, which one of it is networking. We want to network within our group of members. And Grapevine has a platform in there, a section to where you can connect with other members, right? So hit those connect buttons when you see that their descriptions are based on what your values and core missions are. For example, if you are more into women and kids, other members are also focused into women and kids, but then you see that they are a marketing coordinator, right? So now you know that that's what they do for a living. So you can reach out to them as a leader and say, hey, I see that your Grapevine platform states that you're a marketing coordinator for so-and-so community or so-and-so business. How can you offer value to us? Because we want to learn. You know, we see that with that position, you're put in a place in the community to where you're out there and doing things. So how can you help us get to where we want to be, right? So use your avenues very genuinely, connect with those members, not only for when they're ready to vote, connect with them genuinely, create that relationship within your circle first, and then we're going to expand after. And this one is very important because we are customers ourselves. We buy product every day. And We live in the community that we're supporting as our given circle. So I am very strategic to where I eat now and where I drink and where I socialize because of my businesses that I have and the given circle that I'm supporting. I know that by me creating genuine community relationship with my community local businesses, I can potentially create a business relationship with them to where they're going to support me if need to be. Right? So they're not going to see my face just this one time when I'm asking them to give me something. They're going to see my face when I support them in my personal life, when I go and have a dinner with my family. And I'll make sure that I acknowledge the manager or the acting manager at that time. Hey, you remember me? I'm Zenaida Cranford, from Fayetteville Women for Good. And we just want to appreciate you for your time in allowing us to host our first meeting at your location, because people like those type of things and they want to make sure that you continue that relationship and use them again. You don't want to get different places or different products or services at every meeting. You don't want to do that because you're expanding your resources instead of using it when you really need to. And I'll probably open up for maybe 1 or 2 questions before I actually go into the types of product, services, and places that we can tap on.
Any questions for Zenaida before she shows some of the actual sponsorships she's been able to get for her Giving Circle? Okay, take it away.
Perfect. We're gonna start with places. So for us, we like to do, and this can work differently with different given circles, because you might have an area base, you might have a local base, you might have a cause given circle. So just tailor it to your community and to what your mission and your vision for the given circle is about. Places that we've considered are public libraries, because those are fairly too easy to get. I know that one of our libraries in the midst of town is very busy. So for me to get a location there, it's going to be a little harder than for me going to the outskirts of our community, right? And then get your members to know what area, like create a poll and see what areas your members are, and try to use different libraries to host meetings at different areas so that you don't have those same members come into that one meeting because they're just closer to that library. You want to make sure that you serve all your members, because again, we cannot be in the position to where we are as leaders and also donating to incredible nonprofits if we don't serve who we're serving, which is our members. We want to make sure that they're seen, that they're understood, and that we can connect with them so that they can continue to donate to our given circle. Right? Rec centers are very fun because there's always like traffic coming in and out. So you can use that also as a strategic move to recruit more members to your given circle. Always have an RQ code. Always have an RQ code. And this is important because while you're looking at businesses for sponsorships, you can tell them, hey, if you ever have a fundraiser that you are considering to have, or a meeting or any event at your restaurant, do you mind setting our RQ code, or QR code, sorry, in the table so that we can have more donors to our given circle. Again, this is not going to hurt anyone, nothing, right? People have their phones all the time, and all they got to do is get the QR code at the table, decide if they want to donate to our given circle or not. And then your home, right? A lot of us like to be a little more intimate, and we want to probably do several meetings and meet several members different times. So your home is a great hosting opportunity because you can go ahead and create an event. Today we'll do some, charcuterie boards, and our members who want to come and network at my home can come and network at my home, right? And then venues and restaurants. We have because of what I do with my business. I'm a philanthropist here in my city, and I'm also involved very deeply in the community. So I've already established myself into creating community relationships. So for me, it's fairly easy to go out and look for sponsorships. Because that's my forte. I'm very good at that. I'm not going to give that to another leader that does not have a familiar relationship or is not comfortable doing it, because something that she say might tell us no, right? So I go out there and I go to restaurants and venues, and we talk and we strategize and we focus on what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And we've partnered with a local restaurant for a winter reception. And it was amazing because I told them straight out the back, we're not a 501c3, we're fairly new in the Fayetteville area, and we want to actually get the word out to speak and attract more members to our giving circles to make a bigger impact. And because I know that they give back to the community a lot, is why I went with that business and I told them, hey, we don't have enough money in our funds to go ahead and probably purchase several of your pies, but what I can do in advance is promise you that we'll at least have 10 of attendees, and those 10 attendees can purchase your pies when they come to the reception. So we're giving them business, right? So you want to make sure you do that. You don't just get, they want to say, what is in it for me? So give them something of a value so that they can also cater to your needs. Food, business cards are very important. I share my business cards all the time for my local businesses and the businesses that I'm involved with. And I, when I go to restaurants with my family, I let the manager know, because the managers nowadays like to come to tables and ask you, hey, is everything okay? Are you guys doing good? Is the food okay? And I'll go ahead and say, hey, are you the manager? And she'll say, yes, I'm the manager. I'm like, okay, Joe, well, here's my business card. If you ever should need us or ever need any, you would like to do anything for the community, let me know. Share your business cards, your personal or professional business cards, because that you don't know how they'll take you along the way. And that's how I got these mod free pan pizza coupons. Because I left my business card with one of the managers and she was so busy, I couldn't introduce myself. I just gave her the business card. She put it in the pocketbook, and my husband told me, well, that's a wrap. She's not going to call you. And I'm like, it's okay, it's fine. I at least shared it. So I did something good today for myself and for the Giving Circle. And in less than 2 months, she called me and she's like, hey, are you still interested in coupons or gift cards? And we're like, yep, I'll be right there. And she came and she called me and I got these free, but these are not for the Giving Circle. These are for my mentorship program that we have an event coming up. Another thing is Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse, if you have one in your neighborhood or in your community, please reach out to them because they are amazing. They give you all these free coupons and free goodies because they are making sure that they reach out to the community, especially to kids events. And that's nice. So these are going to go to our members when they attend our Giving Circle voting poll. So we're going to give one with this with our business card goodie bags. And then this is also a Texas Roadhouse basket that they would like to raffle for us. And we'll be considering raffling this gift bag also. But when we have more than 10 attendees, if that makes sense, right? We want to make sure that we attract our members and say, hey, today we're going to have a raffle. Make sure you come in. Make sure if you donated in the Great Vibe platform that you donate so that when you come to this event, you can go ahead and cast your vote. Also, when you cast your vote, you're going to go ahead and enter to the raffle to get the Texas Roadhouse seasoning basket. And then lastly, this is a Food Lion. If you have a Food Lion, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You'll go to your local Food Lion where you shop almost every day, and you'll tell them that you have an event for your Grapevine platform, who you are, what you do, and if you have a business to yourself, make sure you introduce yourself as your business position. That's very important, right? Solidify that, and then you ask them if they would like to be your sponsor for the event, how much attendees you will have. If you have 30 attendees, make sure you acknowledge that you have 30 attendees, and what do you want? Do you want food? Do you want fruit bowls? Or do you want beverages? In my case, they gave me a $25 gift card for beverages because we already had a food sponsored. So I just went and told them we were missing the drinks. And then product. Product is amazing because did you know you can create you a Grapevine logo for your Giving Circle? I mean, your Giving Circle logo. You can be as creative as you want with your Giving Circle. And we have shirts. We have business cards for our leaders, and we also have our personalized check, big check. And any of those did not needed approval from the Grapevine platform because you're not using the Grapevine platform logo. You're using your logo that you created for your Giving Circle. Remember, your Giving Circle is another extension of your personal or professional business, right? If you're a leader or a member in there, you want to make sure that you have a passion for what you do, because the transparency of when you do genuine connections in attracting sponsorship is going to show. And when we do things with a kind heart, an open heart, and for the good of other people and not ours, the answer is always going to be yes. But if you don't go and ask, then you'll get no for an answer. So sponsorships have been really easy for us this far because we're not aiming too high. We're staying a little close bubble of ours, and we're staying really low because we know that we don't have that much of a high traffic in our members portal. So we want to make sure we're tailoring to those who are being active in there. And that's all I have, I believe. The last thing I have is for my business people. You guys have a full array of network within your personal agenda. So use your personal resources to reach out and not make your job any harder than what it is. Because being a Grapevine, a Giving Circle leader through Grapevine created a platform for us. Like, for example, Grapevine created the Giving Circle for us, Fayetteville Women for Good, right? And they assisted leaders for us. We contact our leaders and we say, hey, are you in it for it? Are you going to give 100% of your commitment? What does that exactly mean? Can you devote at least 8 hours of your time for the Giving Circle? Because we're all busy women, right? And if the answer is yes, and you're 100% in it, we don't want your work to be any harder than what your daily life already is. So just make it as easy as you can. For us, it's fairly easy.
Thank you, Zenaida. This is so helpful, all these sort of tips that you're giving us. And I love what you're talking about the importance of sort of building those relationships. So you're not just sort of going to people when you need something. There's this like really organic relationship building that's sort of a two-way thing. We've got a couple questions in the chat, and I know we only have 5 minutes left, so I just kind of want to pull those out. One question here, around, Jennifer is talking about how they had booked a restaurant that canceled. And they have quite a large Giving Circle, about 130 members, about 60 to 75 people will come to events. So finding larger spaces for events, any suggestions there?
Yeah, so I don't know which part is how big of a city she's in, but a lot of these cities, my city is fairly growing a lot. So there's a lot of businesses that are very new. So try Googling new businesses or new venues, and a 9 out of 10 new venues. Like, for instance, we have one that I got invited to inaugural soft launch next week, and it's a venue, but it's also a content creation location. So I got invited to it, and I'm going gonna go, I'm gonna support, but also I know that it's fairly new, so they might end up having to be a benefit for, for us in the long run, because I know we have exposure and we can offer exposure to them by promoting their new venue. So if you have new businesses that are fairly new and need that exposure and need those 60 plus members that you have, tell them, hey, we are who you are, introduce yourself, make sure you're always giving them full transparency, and say, hey, we don't have the means to book your venue right now, but we do know that at least 40 members will show up and they will buy a full course meal, especially if you're going to do your event on a weekend, maybe in the evening when it's dinner time or lunchtime or brunch time.
Great. Does anyone have any questions that they want to unmute and ask, or share if anyone on this call had success getting a sponsorship?
Yeah. I think our biggest issue is the money we spend on fees for things like Google domains, the website, et cetera, et cetera. We do use our members to donate money for snacks, and then we have drinks for purchase. So we've got that covered. And, and just an FYI that we have people that work at banks and they have access to a few $100. So they will split the year in 2 or 3 or 4 quarters, and they'll each give like $300. So it doesn't cost one group too much. So it's Citizen Bank, First National Bank, there are a zillion banks. So we've done that, but our biggest, we must spend $600 a year on fees for websites, Google domains, Squarespace domains. Anybody ever get money for those things?
Yeah, so I had before I made my mentorship program a 501c3, it was just a hobby, right? It was just something that I was doing in my spare time. So what I did before it became a 501c3 is that a friend of mine told me that the city is offering mini grants, right? And I went and applied, and I was like, well, I'm not a 501c3. And they're like, well, the grant is going to be under your name, not your organization, right? Because they're mini grants tailored to promote the well-being of the community, right? So I applied, and it was as easy as 1 to 3. Obviously, you have to file a W-9 for it because you're using, federal funding and such. But you got to make sure that you save your receipts. But in what I'm saying is that my grant was used to make sure that I helped build my nonprofit by creating events tailored to what the grant was used for. But also businesses, they have warehouse businesses that do that. I've been to places to where I will go and offer volunteer time, and in return they will say, yes, if you ever need us to donate a couple bucks, we'll do that. And that's how we was able to pay for the check, and that's how we was able to pay for other printing needs, because the warehouse gave us a $60 check so that we can go ahead and use that. Staples has a good program for donating, and I believe is at 25%. Staple gives organizations and people who are doing good things in the community, promoting the community for good efforts, 25%, I believe, off. Mm-hmm. And you can go on staple.com and find that information off, but it's fair. It's fairly easy to do something without giving it too much of a thought.
Yeah, I like the asking, just checking to see if there are community mini grants for this sort of thing. I mean, we're well established, so it's possible.
And businesses do it too. Businesses, if you have 10 members that are willing to go ahead and ask other businesses for 25 donation here for your Giving Circle event, I'm pretty sure they'll do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, we are at time, so I know we have to wrap up, and that kind of leads me a little bit as well. I can see a question in the chat about how if you are getting funding, if you need to open a bank account, all these kinds of things. So right now on Grapevine, sort of any funds you're getting, if it's like being put towards sort of your next grant, we can facilitate that if you're getting just money for your next grant. But if you're getting maybe specific money to go towards a domain, Squarespace, all these kinds of things, you can always reach out to me. We can chat about opening up a sort of a cycle just for you to put money into there for any funding. So, and hopefully this will get a lot better on the platform soon, but there's some ways we can kind of work around it right now. So yeah, just want to thank all of you for your amazing questions. And of course, Hannah Yang and Zenaida for sharing all these fantastic learnings. This has been recorded, so I'll share it out afterwards. Oh yes, my email address. Go ahead, Hannah.
I'm also going to share a discount code for anyone who end up being interested in subscribing to the TheShareWay, and I'll share that code with Gabby so she could include it in the email after.
Awesome. Happy to do that. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. And look for the next workshop coming soon. Have a great day.